Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday morning, March 11th. We have a very active Arctic cold frontal system that will come into the eastern states on Saturday. It looks like it will generate a period of rain ahead of the frontal system and then a transition to accumulating snow even into the I-95 corridor region on Saturday. That transition period from rain to snow could very well include some sleet as well. There will be some significant snowfall for the interior sections of the Mid-Atlantic region and Northeast U.S., let's say from West Virginia across central Pennsylvania, upstate New York, interior New England, for example. In fact, a great storm for the ski resorts up there in Vermont and New Hampshire. But again, even into the I-95 corridor region, from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City, I expect accumulating snow on Saturday. It looks like the transition will take place tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, with, again, rain developing late tonight, continuing into the early morning hours, and then that front will progress from west to east. The transition to snow will progress from west to east across the Mid-Atlantic region. It looks like that'll reach the immediate I-95 corridor region sometime during the mid to late morning hours, probably first changing over in D.C. area from northwest to southeast, and then Philadelphia, and then by midday in New York City. Let's go over several of the factors involved. We've been kind of focused in on all the ingredients that are coming together for not only a snow event on Saturday, but perhaps even more concerning, high winds. Looks like later in the day tomorrow night, there'll be 50 plus mile per hour winds throughout the Mid-Atlantic region and Northeast U.S. That, of course, raises the possibility of some down tree limbs and some power outages as well. One of the first things I want to point out here is from the 6Z run of the GFS model, one of the factors involved, frontogenesis. This is like in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, there will be a very sharp contrast in temperatures, and this can lead to what we call frontogenetic banding, basically small scale or mesoscale bands of heavier precipitation on Saturday. And much of this, as we'll see in a moment here, comes post-frontal system in the cold air, and that's why there can be a burst of heavy snow or sleet, and that's why I think accumulations can make it all the way into the I-95 corridor region. Let's just push forward here in time. This is again from an operational synoptic scale model here, the GFS model, and here we go by tomorrow morning. All this purple here represents what we call frontogenesis at 700 millibars, and it can be associated with some bursts of heavier precipitation. That's the main point I want to make here is here we are now at 18Z, which is 1 p.m. Definitely, for the most part, behind the cold frontal system at this point in time in that immediate D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. And still a lot of frontogenetic banding here on the cold side of the front leads to the possibility of some bursts of heavier snow and sleet and accumulations, again, all the way down into the I-95 corridor region. Let's move ahead here. It quickly shifts off the coast by the time we get to tomorrow evening. This is the 7 p.m. forecast map, and then all the way into the overnight hours. And this particular time period from later tomorrow, especially tomorrow night into early Sunday, very high winds and very cold for this time of the year. Don't be surprised to see the upper teens in many areas, suburban areas along the I-95 corridor region by Sunday morning, way below normal for this time of the year. And of course, wind chills will be far lower given the fact that the winds can be 50 plus miles per hour. Well, another factor here, actually multiple factors or multiple jet streaks here in the atmosphere, some in the lower levels, some in the upper levels. This particular forecast set of maps here is in the upper levels, a 250 millibar level, and here we have very strong jet stream in the southern branch here, and that's early today. Watch what happens by the time we get to tomorrow morning, tomorrow midday. This is the midday forecast map at 250 millibars. Very, very strong upper level winds, and there's also a low level jet at 850 millibars. So the combination of these two jet streaks multiple layers of the atmosphere will definitely lead to strong upward motion in the mid-Atlantic region, in the northeast U.S., right along this Arctic frontal boundary zone. Again, this is a powerful jet streak way up in the atmosphere, and again we have kind of a northern branch system and a southern branch system that tend to phase together by the time we get to tomorrow night and Sunday morning here. That main jet pulls off the coast. We still have a kind of another jet streak upstream in the northern branch of the overall jet stream pattern. Well, we've also talked about the vorticity pattern here as feeding the fuel to the fire here, as it were. We have a northern branch system and a southern branch system. Here we are beginning the day here in a kind of a sharp upper level feature here over the northern plains as we begin the day here on Friday morning, and a secondary system also quite a sharp tilt here, sharp upper level feature here. These two end up phasing together as we push forward by the time we get to Saturday morning. Here we go now by Saturday midday and then Saturday evening, and we have these two systems phasing together, and keeping in mind we have those multiple layered jet streaks in the atmosphere as well. So the vorticity, the areas of spin in the upper part of the atmosphere, start off split, one in the north, one in the south, but they phase together, and that will lead to a rapidly intensifying surface low pressure system. That is another key factor here. We will have low pressure developing in the Tennessee Valley early tomorrow over the Arctic frontal boundary zone that moves to the north and east and intensifies very rapidly by the time we get to tomorrow night, and it'll be located at that particular time over the northern part of New England, and the pressure gradient between that departing low and strong high pressure in the southern states will lead to the high winds from late tomorrow, especially tomorrow night, into Sunday morning throughout the northeastern part of the nation, the mid-Atlantic region. 50-plus mile per hour winds out of the northwest. This is all behind the frontal system. Sometimes we have very strong winds ahead of the front and behind the front. In this particular case, the high winds definitely more likely, more favorable conditions behind the frontal system in the cold air late tomorrow night into Sunday morning. Well, let's now walk through the very latest high-resolution model. We call this the HRRR high-resolution model here. The very latest from early morning, 7 o'clock run here, 12Z. And I want to walk through this. This produces maps in an hourly sequence here. And we'll just walk through this particular model, which I think has a pretty good handle on things. Quiet today, mild today, ahead of the Arctic front. And here we are now getting into the overnight hours, again, moving along in hourly increments. This is just after midnight, 1 a.m. forecast map early tomorrow morning. And notice here a lot of snow here behind the Arctic frontal system. And here we go now in the late night hours towards morning. This is now the 5 a.m. forecast map. Rain already in the D.C. metro region, starting to break out across southeastern Pennsylvania. And here we go now by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Rain still in the D.C. metro region, but notice just to the north and west, already transitioning maybe to sleet first and then to snow. Still raining across southeastern Pennsylvania, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let's go out a couple more hours. Here we are now by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Again, this is the very latest high-resolution forecast model. Snowing at this particular time by mid-morning tomorrow already in the D.C. metro region. Snow and sleet just to the north and west of Philadelphia here. Let's say western Chester County already transitioning over by 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. New York City still in the rain ahead of the frontal system. Go out a couple more hours. Here we go. Still snowing at this particular time. This is a 16Z, which is 11 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Still snowing in the D.C. metro region at this particular time. Late tomorrow morning, all snow throughout the southeastern part of Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, and transitioning to sleet and then snow in the New York City metro region. Then we go out a couple more hours here, and this is now the 1 p.m. forecast map. All snow in D.C. at this particular time. pretty much all snow in the Delmarva Peninsula area and certainly eastern and central Pennsylvania, and transitioning to all snow in New York City. It continues on for a couple more hours here. Now we're getting into the mid-afternoon. And notice here, this particular model, again, I think it has a good handle on things, shows these streamer bands. This is really into the Arctic air by this time, and this is lake effect snow, well behind the passage of the frontal system. Expect to see some snow squalls in those higher elevations across West Virginia, central and western Pennsylvania late tomorrow afternoon, western New York, and some of those snow showers can actually work their way all the way into the I-95 corridor region. Things start to kind of settle down tomorrow night, but this particular time, look at these black lines here. These are lines of equal pressure, and whenever you have a rather tight pattern like that, you have strong winds. In this particular case, it'll be out of the northwest, and again, expect possibility of 50+ mile-per-hour winds throughout the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. later tomorrow night, into the morning hours on Sunday as well. That, of course, will be associated with very, very cold air, maybe the upper teens for lows, even in the I-95 corridor region by Sunday morning. In terms of snowfall, the preliminary estimates right here, it's a very difficult forecast for the immediate I-95 corridor region. I'm thinking in the D.C. metro region, definitely accumulating snow in the D.C. metro region, maybe on the order of 1 to 3 inches to the south and east, and 2 to 5 inches north and west. Something somewhat similar in the Philadelphia metro region, maybe a tad less than that, but let's say 1 to 3 in the city and immediate suburbs, and then 2 to 5 inches in those far northern and western suburbs. Perhaps of all these three areas, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City may end up with the least amount, but even there I expect maybe a coating to a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches, with those higher amounts to the north and west of the New York City metro region. So, very active Arctic frontal passage on Saturday. Rain transitions to accumulating snow. Sleet very likely to be involved in that transition period. Then high winds, very cold conditions throughout the northeastern quadrant of the nation later tomorrow night into the day on Sunday. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul